Happy to be with you all again. Just waiting 1 minute for any latecomers. Once again, I'm at the Hare Krishna School, which is closed, outside of Auckland, New Zealand. For those of you who are overseas, I can explain. The whole country's been on lockdown for about 4 or 5 days now. No one can go anywhere except for essential affairs like grocery shopping, banking, and liquor stores. Those essential facilities for human life are still there. We're going to continue our discussion of Pritchett Maharaj, especially focusing upon his eagerness to hear about Krishna. His eagerness is to the point that it's a thirst. He even tells Shukadeva Goswami a surprising thing. We'll read it. Because of my vow on the verge of death, I have given up even drinking water. Yet, because I am drinking the nectar of topics about Krishna, which is flowing from the lotus mouth of your lordship, my hunger and thirst, which are extremely difficult to bear, cannot hinder me. Now this is very important because, as you may recall from the first canto, even though now we're reading from the 10th canto, in the first canto, Pritchett Maharaj apparently had some difficulty because of thirst. And that thirst apparently drove him to the incident where he garlanded the rishi with a snake, a dead snake. And for that, the rishi's son cursed him to die in 7 days. Now, there's no way that such an extraordinary person like Pritchett Maharaj would be so pushed by bodily demands. But this is an arrangement made by Krishna. Number one, so that the age of Kali could finally enter. Because as long as Pritchett Maharaj is fully functioning as the chief executive of the whole world, Kali Yuga was just bottled up and contained. But now it's time to fulfill the desires of the conditioned souls who actually want Kali Yuga, the age of darkness. This is a burden we have to bear. Why is there such an age with so many crises and problems? Because conditioned souls want it. Now you may say, wait a minute, we don't want troubles, we don't want distress, we don't want all these crises, we just want a nice life, a good time, some good gratification, material happiness. What's wrong with that? But you see, when you're equipped with knowledge of Srimad Bhagavatam, you understand that there can't be material happiness without material distress. There can't be health without illness. There can't be good times without bad times. This is the way material existence is constructed. Theoretically, We may know this, but to realize it, that isn't a necessity. Because once we realize this, we lose faith in the whole package of material existence. It's unbelievable that due to our desires, our rebellious desires, our perverted desires, we brought ourselves into the situation of this age of Kali, this age of darkness. One point Srila Prabhupada makes that I've been meditating on very deeply the past few weeks is that it's impossible to enjoy in a diseased state. That hits me really heavy. We say to ourselves, what do you mean I'm in a diseased state? And therefore it's impossible to enjoy. We need to understand the whole situation of material existence, the reality of our having a material body. That's being realistic. That's being pragmatic and practical. What does this package really entail? Another point I've been meditating on, made by Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, is that in the cycle of contemplating the objects of the senses, then there's attachment, second chapter, Bhagavad Gita. Contemplating the objects of the senses, attachment, then lust, and then anger. Anger because the material desires cannot be fulfilled. Because how can we enjoy truly in a diseased condition of life? But we'll try. We'll try. We're civilized, we're industrialized, we've got technology. So in that crack between lust and anger, Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur points out there's actually a sub-step, which is conflict of interest. I've been thinking about this very deeply. When there is material desire, and lust in Bhakti Yoga science doesn't simply mean carnality, that's just a peak expression of the whole syndrome, but lust means I shall lord it over material nature, I shall attempt to squeeze pleasure out of my body, my mind, someone else's body and mind, out of society, whether gross or subtle. I've got to get something for me. So we think, what's the big deal about that? As long as it doesn't upset too many people. But Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur makes the point that following lust, there must be conflict of interest. There's nothing innocent about material desire. In of itself, it causes a conflict in interest. That's the way material nature is constructed. We are so silly. We think, let there be world peace through material happiness. Let there be world peace through gratification, as long as the gratification is mutual, of whatever type, gross, subtle, whatever gets you through the day, whatever gets you through the night. So without this Bhakti Yoga knowledge, it's hard for us to see that the wrong kind of desire, that means material desire, brings about conflict of interest. Not unity, not harmony, not agreement. Ooh, this is a tough pill to swallow. But if you can catch it, you can save yourself a lot of wandering through the cycle of repeated birth and death, rotating on the wheel of samsara, and you can also help others. First, the physicians have to heal themselves. I'm speaking about that, and in the back of my mind are statements from apparently erudite persons who offer brilliant stopgap solutions, limited solutions. But what else can you grasp? What other straws can you grasp without transcendental knowledge? I'm thinking in particular about a quotation from a very popular professor of psychology at Yale University who's put together an online course about happiness and well-being. And over 1 million students have signed up. When she gives the course live at Yale, 1/4 of the student body wants to take it. So her course online has boomed almost 300% since this whole coronavirus problem, crisis has begun. So she says, and it sounds good, doesn't it? Listen, I want my students to experience one of those rare moments. Despite how anxious this whole crisis feels, we get to control our narrative and framing of this crisis. We can think of it as an awful situation, or we can think of it as a challenge that our families are facing together. Check out that language. It's very important. We get to control our narrative, the story as we're living it, and the framing of this crisis. In other words, we can make of the situation what we can. Either think of it as it's horrible, which it is, or think of it as a challenge to bring us closer together. There's some truth in that if you have an intelligent human species. They can see that this coronavirus challenge can't be solved on a local level. It involves the whole world. It involves the entire human species on the planet working together. Moreover, it also involves the animals, because scientists are saying now that these strange viruses, bird flu, swine flu, coronavirus, they've come about because of viruses jumping from animals to human beings because human beings are eating those animals. Even strange diets that include bats. So it's not just the Asians, it's not simply the Chinese. Flesh eating is a worldwide phenomenon. Remember the mad cow outbreak? The mad cow disease outbreak in the UK. So, yes, this crisis can bring us together, but only if we have the requisite knowledge. Otherwise, you're just putting a Band-Aid over a tumor. Think that you're in the desert and you're dying of thirst, and someone drives up in a Jeep with just enough water in a bottle so you can take a shower and have a liter or a quart left over to drink. They've helped, but your problem is you're trapped in the desert. The Jeep has no fuel to get out. What are you going to do to solve the problem of the desert? In other words, the desert-like material existence. So this is where material solutions and material vision fall so short. Horribly short. So as we were speaking in our previous class on Friday, material existence is a disease, and Pritchett Maharaj is pointing that out. The disease is called bhava. And our situation is Bhava Sagra, the ocean of becoming and unbecoming. So, where's the vaccine to immunize us against this most dangerous virus, the whole of material existence? Can you really pacify yourself and others by saying, we get to control our narrative and framing of this crisis? No, material nature is mowing us down. Why should we look at a few buoyant moments? Let's look at the whole picture. But that is scary. You're not supposed to do that. I'll read you another quote based on the thoughts of Steven Pinker at Harvard University. He's a cognitive psychologist who is a great proponent of evolutionary psychology and computational theories of the mind. In other words, the mind is a computer. So he asks, and others of his ilk say the same thing, are you worried about the big global existential threats? Overpopulation, resource depletion, nuclear war, climate change, and now add the coronavirus. Pinker urges us to first change the way we think about these crises. They are not apocalypses in waiting, but problems to be solved. Pinker cites a study showing that people may be more likely to acknowledge a problem when they think it's solvable than when they are frozen by fear. Now let's talk about that, being frozen by fear. You can just visualize a deer or a rabbit. They're famous for not being able to handle bright light right in their face. Their eyes actually can't handle it. So therefore, when a car is driving on the road, deer and rabbits will often just freeze in the middle of the road. It's not simply fear. It's not simply that they think, oh, maybe this car is a big predator. Especially, I know in the case of deer, their eyes are adjusted to low light. And so when the full beam of a car is approaching, their eyes can't handle it. So they freeze. So the idea Pinker is saying is that when people hear doomsday talk, oh no, this problem's insurmountable, no one can handle this crisis, they become frozen by fear. They don't do anything. So you have to offer them some hope of the crisis being solved, and then people may start to do something. Environmentalists face this problem, the doomsday problem. If you just tell people, look, if you don't cut your global emissions, if you don't do this, if you don't do that, renewable energy, so on and so forth, in 10 years, you're going to see disaster. a few people get motivated by that, but many just freeze. Like, what's the use then? It's like, if there's going to be a complete end to my sense gratification soon, then I don't know what to do. So therefore, a strategy has been devised that you offer the people hope for material fulfillment, safety, and gratification, while reminding them that there could be some danger coming. And then people generally say, yeah, a little danger, yeah. As long as in the forefront of my life is good old material opportunity. So this doomsday syndrome also affects our devotees and also people that our devotees are trying to reach. For example, in non-crisis times, of course, we know material existence is always a crisis. You tell people, please chant Hare Krishna. And they say, what do I need to chant Hare Krishna for? I'm all right. As they say in California, I'm good. Or Australia, she'll be right, mate. Why should I chant Hare Krishna as a daily practice? Then, when crisis hits, like right now, you tell people, chant Hare Krishna. Still they won't. Why should I chant Hare Krishna? How will that solve the problem? How's that going to stop the virus? So whether they're good times or bad times, because the mind is so agitated and distorted by material desire and anxiety, people don't take shelter of the Hare Krishna mantra. So we don't want to be like that. We want to use this time for, yes, getting control of our narrative and framing our situation by more focus on chanting Hare Krishna. Many of our householders, they're working hard, keeping their families together. It's not easy. Mothers with children, mothers with jobs and children. But now is a time in places where you have to be isolated, can't go out in the normal way. Now's the time to get back into the japa if we've dropped our beads. Get back into the quality chanting if we've just been fingering our beads. That's the best way to take advantage of this situation. Just as Parikshit Maharaj is taking advantage of his situation. Oh, I've got 7 days to live. I know what I'm going to do. I'm dropping my extraordinary royal opulence. I'm heading out alone to the bank of the Ganga. And there, surrounded by the greatest sages, mystics, and rishis in the universe, I am going to focus on the Supreme Personality of Godhead by focusing upon the sound vibration of Srimad Bhagavatam. So therefore, he says to Shukadeva Goswami to encourage the Goswami. I've given up drinking water, but I'm drinking the nectar of topics about Krishna, which is flowing from the lotus mouth of your lordship. Therefore my hunger and thirst, which are extremely difficult to bear normally, can't hinder me. In other words, in terms of material thirst, been there, done that. I'm not going to be fooled by that again. I'm not stopping your flow of Krishna Katha for anything, Because Shukadeva Goswami is concerned. Maybe we should take a break so you can drink a little bit. No, 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 we're not going there. So as I was explaining before, reason number one that Pritchett Maharaj was involved in that incident of thirst and wrapping a dead snake around the rishi. Reason number one was in order for Kali Yuga to do its thing, to manifest its presence, Pritchett Maharaj had to go. And number two, in order for Srimad Bhagavatam to be spoken, this whole situation is arranged by Krishna. So you might say, well, wait a minute. It's all arranged by Krishna. Pritchett Maharaj evidently is going to suffer. Such a devotee as Pritchett Maharaj is totally off the bodily platform. Totally free from bodily identification. This is the real solution to the problem of material existence. Not simply wait until you leave this world and go back to Krishna. People will often say, oh, you're all so focused on the afterlife. What about now? What are you doing now to avert those problems that I just listed? Overpopulation, resource depletion, nuclear war, climate change, coronavirus. Is it simply wait until you die and then the afterlife? No, the Bhakti Yoga process transforms us even while we're still in this body, still in this world. Our perception becomes different. And reality is all about perception. Therefore, Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, what is day for one set of human beings is night for the other, and vice versa. According to your state of consciousness, you experience the world differently than someone of another consciousness. So this is very important. Those of you who have had a Bible background may remember the New Testament statement by Jesus. Be in the world, but not of the world. Bhakti Yoga is actually the technology, the applied spiritual technology, how to do that. We're going to speak more about that, though, on Wednesday. Transforming existence, not simply waiting to give up this body, and then in the afterlife, that's when everything happens. No, even in this lifetime, the perception, the existence of a devotee is different. So yes, a devotee's body goes through birth, death, disease, and old age. I'm certainly not in the same body that I had 20 or 30 years ago. Certainly, I'm experiencing old age. And certainly this body will be finished. But for someone trying to be absorbed in Krishna's service, trying to be attached to hearing about Krishna, chanting Hare Krishna, things are different. Life is different. Experience is different. You know the example, a beautiful example. The cat carries in its mouth her kitten as well as a mouse that she just caught. Look at those two situations and see. Now the cat has the mouse in her mouth. The mouse is in the grip of death and feeling terror. Now the cat has her kitten in its mouth. The mouse, the kitten is feeling motherly affection. The kitten is feeling safe and sound, even though from the external point of view, both the mouse and the kitten are in the mouth of the cat. But the experiences of each are completely different. This example, again, requires some thought. So Pritchett Maharaj is fully situated on the spiritual platform. And let's talk more about that spiritual platform. Especially that spiritual platform brought about by chanting Hare Krishna. Doubts about the fullness of chanting Hare Krishna are nothing new. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself went through it. Remember? He's being interrogated by the Mayavadi sannyasis in Varanasi. And they're asking him, why are you doing all this chanting and dancing? Why are you... Got some kids in the background and making noise. Can't blame them, they're cooped up all day, can't go anywhere. So I've asked them to be quiet. Let's see. So these Mayavadi sannyasis who think they understand the Vedas, who think they understand Vedanta, but distort it so they avoid anything personal about the Supreme Absolute Truth. They're so attached to misconstruing because they have a preconception. The Supreme Absolute Truth can't have any name, form, qualities, activities. And they garble everything due to material desire. I want to be supreme. We are all the one. So they misconstrue that when the Supreme Absolute Truth comes in contact with the material energy, it then manifests form, personality, activities. Nothing to do with what Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita. So they were questioning Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. This chanting, what's with it? Chanting, dancing in the company of fanatics. Now these Mayavadi sannyasis were austere. They were knowledgeable. Their austerity and knowledge was far beyond anything you'll find today. Yet they missed the point completely. They thought they understood Vedanta, the conclusion of the Vedas. Whereas Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, Vedaishta sarvaya hameva Veda. I am the conclusion of the Vedas. I'm the compiler of the Vedas. So they pushed this inquiry upon Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. They were respectful in their interrogation because they had seen such an effulgence come from him. They thought, well, we're all Narayan, and it looks like he's really on that stage that we're all aspiring for. We're all God, and he already looks like he's God. Wow. So what was Mahaprabhu's response? Because they asked him, will you kindly explain the reason you have adopted the behavior of lower class people? See, that tendency is always there. Well, this chanting Hare Krishna is for fanatics. It's for lower class people. So what was Mahaprabhu's answer? He told them, I'm just following the instructions of my spiritual master, Ishwara Puri, who told me, Krishna mantra japa sada e mantra sar. You must always chant the holy name of Krishna. This is the essence of all mantras or Vedic hymns. Krishna mantra hoite abe samsara mochan. Krishna nama hoite pabe Krishna charan. Simply by chanting the holy name of Krishna, one can obtain freedom from material existence. Indeed, simply by chanting the Hare Krishna mantra, one will be able to see the lotus feet of the Lord. So then Mahaprabhu decided to teach them a verse or two that his spiritual master taught them. Number one, for spiritual progress in the age of Kali, there's no other solution than chanting Hare Krishna. And he presented the effects. In other words, this is not just some kind of religious faith here. This is transformation. Let me tell you the effects of chanting Hare Krishna, which is the only alternative in the age of Kali. Since I received this order from my spiritual master, I always chant the holy name. But I thought that by chanting and chanting the holy name, I had been bewildered. While chanting the holy name of the Lord in pure ecstasy, I lose myself, and thus I laugh, cry, dance, and sing, just like a madman. So Mahaprabhu said, I had to consult my spiritual master about this. I didn't know what was going on. I saw that I had become mad by chanting the holy name. So he immediately submitted this to his spiritual master. What did he say? My dear Lord, what kind of mantra have you given me? I have become mad simply by chanting this Maha Mantra. I'm dancing, I'm laughing, I'm crying. So when his spiritual master, Ishwara Puri, heard this, he smiled and said, this is the nature of the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, that anyone who chants it immediately develops his loving ecstasy for Krishna. You say, well, hey, what about us? We've been chanting 6 months, 1 year, 10 years, 20 years, 30 years. Where's all that ecstasy? We're not rolling on the ground. We're not dancing and crying and tears pouring from our eyes. And what's happening? What's happening is offensive chanting. Therefore, we have to embrace our real career of striving for quality chanting. Mahaprabhu is showing you the effects of chanting without offense. This is the prize that we want. How are we going to attain that prize if we are not even chanting a proper quantity of japa? How will we ever be protected from bhava rog, the disease of material existence? Remember when Advaita Acharya was crying out for the appearance of the Supreme Personality of Godhead as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Advaita Acharya did an environmental scan of what was happening in Navadvip and all around. Said, Keho pape, keho punye, kore vishoy bog. Everywhere I see people doing impious activities, pious activities, but nowhere do I see a trace of bhakti. And without bhakti, how can there be a cure to bhava rog, the disease known as material existence? Later, we may speak about how actually a real devotee doesn't chant Hare Krishna and engage in devotional service for escaping material existence. Yet, Krishna arranges that even though a real devotee is not concerned. We'll either get to that today or Wednesday. As Mahaprabhu explains to the impersonalist sannyasis, for a devotee who has actually developed bhava, that's the preliminary state to pure love of God. It's before praying. For a devotee who has actually developed bhava, the pleasure derived from dharma, artha, kama, and moksha, religiosity, economic development, sense gratification, and liberation, appears like a drop in the presence of the sea. Actually, this is Ishwar Puri explaining to Lord Chaitanya about what's come over Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. You are greatly fortunate to have already awakened your love for Krishna, Ishwar Puri is telling Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. It is a characteristic of love of Godhead that by nature it induces transcendental symptoms in one's body and makes one more and more greedy to achieve the shelter of the lotus feet of the Lord. Very important. Greed. Greed in bhakti is not an ordinary thing. Rupa Goswami certifies that. He says if you actually see lolium, spiritual greed, then if you see it in the shop, buy it at any price. In other words, it is so rare. It doesn't come about through any material methodology. Greed is what we are aspiring for. The Krishna Trishna. The thirst for Krishna. Let's use these present circumstances to develop that thirst for Krishna. Not the thirst for material indulgence and enjoyment, which causes so many problems. Indeed, causes global problems. But who will catch the real crook? Who will catch the real criminal? It's like some burglar ransacks your house and leaves footprints, muddy footprints on the floor. And you, or let's say the police, come and capture the footprints. We've got him. But burglar's gone. So you can deal with the symptoms. But the real criminal, you're not touching. But Bhakti Yoga focuses on the real virus. Now, sometimes it's said that will everyone in this age of darkness, Kali Yuga, take advantage of the Hare Krishna mantra so that the whole world can be transformed? A devotee is pragmatic. He or she thinks there's a virus going on known as material existence. Bhava. It's another name for Lord Shiva. There's that virus, and then there's the vaccine, which is hearing and chanting about Krishna. At least for me, let me be vaccinated. We're talking about vaccine in the ideal sense. I'm not getting into vaccination controversies. We're speaking in the ideal sense. It's just an example. You don't want the virus. You want the cure. You take it. And then, to as many persons as will listen, you help them get the cure. It's raining outside? You carry an umbrella. You put on rain gear. That is the point. And teach others to do the same. So the golden age of Lord Chaitanya, that you often hear about, is for all those who take shelter. Not everyone's going to do that. It's true that if a significant portion of the population does take that shelter, you'll see an extraordinary transformation of the whole world. But even if they don't, even if a significant portion of the population doesn't, you take care of yourself, your families, and as many others as you can vaccinate. Bhakti is practical. We're not pie-in-the-sky dreamers. Ishwar Puri taught Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu another verse, which Mahaprabhu says is the essence of all the Bhagavatam's instructions. And he said, therefore, his spiritual master recited it again and again. Evam vratat priya namakirtya jatanurago druta chitta uchchai hasatyato rodati roti gayati unmadavanrichati loka bhaya. When a person is actually advanced and takes pleasure in chanting the holy name of the Lord, who is very dear to him, he is agitated and loudly chants the holy name. He also laughs, cries, becomes agitated, and chants just like a madman, not caring for outsiders. Ishwar Puri, as Lord Chaitanya presented to these impersonal sannyasis, encouraged him. Continue this dancing and chanting, performing Sankirtan with the devotees. But moreover, do outreach. Distribute the value of chanting Hare Krishna. For just by this process, you'll be able to deliver all conditioned souls. It's possible. So again, we're pragmatic. We know it is possible for the whole world to be Krishna conscious. At the same time, we have a responsibility to vaccinate ourselves, our family, and as many persons that our spiritual capacity allows us to speak to and influence. So this verse that Mahaprabhu quoted is from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 11, Chapter 2, Text 40. Let's take a look at that, because it's describing chanting that's taking you from bhava to praying. And we shouldn't shy away from hearing discussions about these exalted levels of bhakti. We need to know what's down the road for us, to varying degrees according to our present situation. It's referring to bhava that has arisen from Vaidhi Bhakti, sadhana, following the rules and regulations of devotional service. That means bhakti done according to a vow. The heart starts to melt as one goes from bhava to prema. Prema means the heart has completely softened. How I long for that. Bhava also means a softening of the heart, but it's partial. You know how sometimes we're just shocked about how hard our heart is? And we wonder, what will the cure be? Will it ever happen? The cure is advancing in bhakti. In bhava, the heart is partially softened. How I long for that. In prema, the heart is completely softened. How we long for that. The acharyas make an interesting point about judging levels of advanced bhakti. I'll read you a nice verse by Madhvacharya from the Varaha Purana. Some devotees of the Lord exhibit external symptoms, acting like madmen. Others are introspective devotees, and still others partake of both natures. It is by one's steadfastness and by the merciful vibrations emanating from one's mouth that one's devotion can be judged, not otherwise. We're followers of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Therefore, even if we are feeling the ecstasies of bhakti, we don't show them in public. Allow me to point out that when we're doing Harinam parties, we're not in the temple. We're presenting ourselves to the general public. And so, if our devotees just turn their backs on the onlookers and form a circle and work out, our devotees are having fun, but people really don't know what to make of it. But we might say, we're feeling ecstasy. But we're servants of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Outreach means packaging the purity. Just thought I'd make that point. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur in this verse gives a very nice example about a devotee in genuine ecstasy. The devotee in his vision sees Krishna entering a house to steal butter. And an old gopi, maybe it was Jarati, catches him. Oh, look at this! Look at this! The butter thief is coming! Grab him! Stop him! And then Krishna takes off. So the devotee in that vision, seeing Krishna stealthily entering into the house to steal butter, is in ecstasy, laughing. But then Krishna disappears. He was caught by the elder gopi. And so now the devotee in his vision can't see Krishna anymore. And so he laments, "Oh, my Lord, where did you go? Please, come back. Give me an answer. Make yourself known to me. Please, what happened?" And then the Lord answers, "My dear devotee, I've heard your loud crying. I'm again coming before you." And so the devotee, hearing that, starts to sing in ecstasy. "Ah, today my life has become perfect." And he begins to dance like a madman. These are all incidents on the top levels of bhakti. But we should hear about that. We want our heart to melt. Our main problem is hard-heartedness. And that hard-heartedness is from lust, anger, greed, madness, envy, and illusion. We've got work to do to reach the higher levels of bhakti. And the main part of that work is chanting Hare Krishna, hearing about Krishna, and, as Ishwar Puri told his disciple, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, distributing that process to others. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur has something very interesting to say about this verse from Bhagavatam, 11th Canto, Chapter 2, Text 40. He says, quoting from the Pajavali, Text 73, "Parivadatu jano yata tata va, nanu mukarona vayam vicharayamaha, harirasa madira madati matta, bhuvi vilutamo natamo nirvishamaha." Let the garrulous populace, that means talkative populace, say whatever they like. We shall pay them no regard. Thoroughly maddened by the ecstasy of the intoxicating beverage of love for Krishna, we shall enjoy life, running about, rolling on the ground, and dancing in ecstasy. So again, these verses are all about those who have gone beyond samsara, the Bhavasagar, the ocean of birth and death, and attain Krishna Prema. These descriptions are there in Nectar of Devotion. They're there in Srimad Bhagavatam because they are reality. They're the real solution to material existence. So in coming days, we'll speak about using untruth to find the truth. What to do about this body. What's the use of it? We'll be discussing more about how human beings have forgotten their real business. And they offer brilliant stopgap solutions, superficial solutions. Of course, no one can surpass Arjuna in chapter 1 of Bhagavad Gita. He gave the most brilliant, almost irrefutable reasons why he shouldn't fight the battle of Kurukshetra. Those reasons he gave revealed his soft-heartedness, which is an essential characteristic of a Vaishnava. But Krishna refuted everything. One thing we can note about that beginning of Bhagavad Gita is that Bhagavad Gita begins at a point of material perplexity. Arjuna can't figure out what to do. he's reached the limit of human intelligence, and his intelligence is far beyond any human being, what any human being today possesses. So please remember this. Bhagavad Gita begins from the point of material perplexity. It begins from the point where human intelligence is stymied. So then when Arjuna presents himself as Krishna's student, Shishyasteham Shadimam Tvam Papanyam, that's when Bhagavad Gita takes off. It takes off beyond human perplexity, beyond the limit of human intelligence. It's been a pleasure speaking with you all. We've got Sri Ramachandra's appearance day coming on Friday. I speak again on Wednesday, 7 p.m. New Zealand time, and Friday, 7 p.m. New Zealand time. And of course, Friday, I believe, is Sri Ramachandra's appearance day. So we'll speak about a section of Ram Leela. Maybe it will be Sita being sent away. It's always something very intriguing about that. Or maybe it'll be something else. We'll have more discussion about Bhava, the ocean of material existence, and its cure. More discussion about Doomsday. Does it stymie simply rabbits and deers when they see the bright lights in their eyes? Environmentalists are concerned if you just tell people climate change and its effects are almost unstoppable. You can do a little bit, but that'll only mitigate the whole problem. You're going to be hit with something. Our devotee outreachers face the same problem in a much more comprehensive way. Do you just tell people, you've got 4 big problems: birth, death, disease, old age? Don't bring me down. Tell me about getting rid of stress. Tell me about material success, how to make more money, how to have better material relationships. But this doomsday Hare Krishna talk, I don't want to hear. One last point. I just remembered. Psychologists point out that there's something called the just world syndrome, especially prevalent in places like the USA, where there's a strong, what's called Protestant work ethic, that if you work hard at your job and honestly, God will bless you and provide you material rewards. Those who have no money, they're probably not pious. They're probably just lazy. But if you really believe in God, the blessings will pour on you. Material blessings. So that notion in various shades leads to this syndrome called the just world. That, wait a minute, I can't really believe this climate change, this coronavirus. I can't believe this is happening because we're good people. We're working hard. We're working honestly. And what about the children? What have the children done to deserve growing up in such a problematic world? They Therefore, I can't accept these crises. Someone has to be making it up. Someone has to be lying. It's got to be fake. I mean, really. How could this happen to innocent children, to innocent you and I, who are working honestly, working hard? Isn't it so that you work hard and you're honest in your profession? God will bless you with the results. So environmentalists have had to deal with this, but actually Bhakti yogis have been dealing with it for thousands of years. A misunderstanding of material nature. So we've covered a lot of ground tonight. Bhava and Bhava. The preliminary stage of love of Krishna. And we've talked about that ultimate stage, Prem, love of Krishna. We'll look forward to doing more of the same on Wednesday night. I thank you very much for your kind association. Hare Krishna.